What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So you guys already know, if you don't know, I like to bring people on this channel that have done time in the Florida Department of Corrections and fuck it, really any prison to be exact. So I got a guest on today. He's done some time in Florida, and he's going to share his story a little bit, how he grew up and what he's been through in the trenches. So, man, if you want to introduce yourself to the subscribers, what's your name and where are you from?
What's going on, YouTube? This your boy Pino, man. If you don't know, you know now. Pompano Beach, Florida. 10 years at Florida Department of Corrections. Came on with my guy DOC TV today to go ahead and kick it with y'all.
Man, that's what's up. So in case none of you guys know, you can check out his YouTube. It's Pino. He's got a bunch of videos just chopping it up with his people and telling his story. So, man, where did the life for Pino start? Like, how was your upbringing growing up?
I mean, I've always been in and out of trouble since I was very young. Like, my first time going to the Juvenile Detention Center, I was 12 years old. What happened was I got in trouble in the neighborhood because of what somebody else did, but I took the blame. I ended up getting sentenced to juvenile probation. I think I was like 11. And after that, it was just a consistent revolving door. Like the first time I violated the juvenile probation, 5 days in the juvenile detention center, second time 15, third time 21. And then from there on out, it was just 21 days, juvenile program. And then eventually I landed myself in prison. But it was more the environment, the people I grew up with. You know, everybody in the neighborhood was a little wild, always running around. You know, it's things that you want when you're young that, you know, sometimes your people are not fortunate enough to provide for you. So you go out there and, you know, you act like a little fool. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it, man. That's kind of like my story. So like I had a messed up childhood too. And I, got in with the wrong crowd. And my first charge was when I was 12, called an armed burglary. And exactly what you said, man, like once you get in that system, it's really hard to get out of that system, especially when you're young. Like you were saying, man, like you don't think of when you're 30, you think about the next week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
about the next score, you don't think about what it's going to look like when you're 30, 40 years old, you got no credit and stuff like that. You don't look at it. You don't look at it.
So when you were caught, the charge that sent you to prison, like how did all that go down?
So my first time going to prison was a burglary of an occupied dwelling. Me and my homeboy, we robbed one of the plugs. You know, we had a little coke plug, and he ended up showing a little more than he needed to show, and we doubled back that day, and we ended up robbing the house. And when we went in, there was people in the house, but it didn't stop us. Like it wasn't a threat.
Right.
It wasn't a threat. So it didn't stop us. We went in, we did what we had to do. We left. We had the police on a high-speed chase on Pine Island, and I want to say towards University type way. But this is a long time ago. This was by Terravella High School. It was over there by Terravella High School. We put the police on a high-speed chase, and I tried to flip the vehicle into oncoming traffic to get away from the police, and it didn't work out too well. The wheel well, the axle snapped on the car, so we just came to a dead halt. The police laid us down in the middle of the street. I ended up going to the county jail my first time going. Actually, this was my second time going to the county jail, but my first time going to the county jail was a battery charge. And I bonded right out. So it was like, I was only in there like 3 hours, bro. I didn't get enough of the county jail to know what the county jail was like. So this is my second time actually going to the county jail, but this time I'm sitting. I know I'm sitting. So I ended up sitting in the county jail about 13 months fighting those charges. I got most of the charges dropped except for the burglary of an occupied dwelling. I ended up playing out as a youthful offender and catching 3 years Florida State prison, followed by 2 years community control. And that was my first prison bid.
Damn. So did you get sentenced under YO?
Yeah, I open plead to the court. Basically throwing yourself at the mercy of the court for a downward departure for youthful offender. So that's what I did. I open plead for a downward departure for the Youthful Offender Act. They originally gave me 3 in, 3 out on community control, but they amended the sentence because 3 years on community control was illegal. The most you can get is 2 years on community control. So I ended up catching a 5-year sentence, 3 in followed by 2 community control. But that didn't last long. I got out and like 5 months later got locked right back up.
All right. So when you got sentenced as a YO and you said in county for that like 13 months, like, did you already have an idea that you were going to be going to JIT camp?
Kind of, yeah. Everybody around me already told me that I was going to JIT camp. I had a lot of charges, and when the charges ended up dropping off, the main ones that stuck were the major charges, the burglary of an occupied dwelling, the major shit. So I knew that I was going to prison. Was I scared of a YO camp? I wouldn't say I was scared. I would say I was nervous, because anybody going into a new environment is always going to be nervous. You're always going to have that, okay, what's it like? What the guards like? What is this like? You know, I'm hungry. Am I going to be able to hit the canteen right away? This, that, and the third. So it's not scary, but it's more cautious. You cautious. You're surrounded. So I tried to absorb a lot of shit in the county jail. I was around a lot of people and shit that been in and out of YO camps. A lot of people from my neighborhood and people I grew up with been in and out of YO camps. So they were just basically lacing me up on it. When I did touch down to the YO camp, it really wasn't no pressure like that. I mean, as long as as a youthful offender, as long as you stand on your own, you're going to be all right. Prison in general, as long as you stay out the fuck shit, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, that's how I feel, man. That's how it was for me. So when you landed, what camp did you end up landing at in the YOs?
When I went to the YO, I went to South Florida Reception Center. I went straight to B-Dorm because they had moved the YO side from C-Dorm to B-Dorm. So I went to B-Dorm, which was behind the doors. My first roommate had a life sentence. He was 17 with a life sentence.
Damn.
Crazy, right? Roommate, first time being in prison, my roommate tell me he got a life sentence. And he's only 17 years old. But I left B-Dorm from South Florida Reception Center. I was there for about 40 to 50 days and ended up going to Lancaster Correctional Institution, which they call that AKA Clancaster, because
I already know.
Police are no joke there. No
yes.
joke.
When you were there, man, like, what did you see the police do? Like the cops, the inmates, or because they play a lot of fuck shit games. But like, what stood out to you during that bid where you're like, man, like these crackers got this. Like, I can't fuck with it.
I'm gonna tell you, we were going to chow. I was still in K-Dorm. I was still in orientation, and we were going to chow. And there was a dude in line who had his pants sagging. And as you come out the chow hall, you know you get searched. You got, in case you want to bring your cornbread or some shit back to the dorm, whatever you want to bring back to the dorm, they're gonna take that from you. So this dude, he comes out the chow hall, he goes to get searched and his pants are sagging. So the police tell him to pull up your pants. He give him kind of a like that, the little teeth suck. The dude who told him to pull up his pants grabbed him by the back of his shirt and shoved him into the brick wall. If anybody know Lancaster, the cafeteria was brick wall. The chow hall was straight brick wall on the outside. Threw him so hard into the brick wall that he busted this open. When they started tussling, it wasn't a fair one. It was 6 police right in front of the chow hall, surrounding and spraying him, holding him down like this. Literally one person holding him down while the next guard comes up behind and starts spraying him in the face. So he's holding his head so he can come spray him like this while he's already flat on the floor.
That's crazy.
But I was kind of like, and we get back, I'm like, damn, bro, they let this shit go down like this. Lancaster, boy, you better act like you know.
Yeah, man, I saw some shit like that too. You're almost watching it and you're like in disbelief that you've landed in a place like where this shit goes on like this. That's at least how it was for me.
Facts. And I was straight in orientation, but when I got out of orientation, I ended up having to fight 5 homies. So I had to fight every homie that was in the dorm. There was 5 Crips in the dorm. I had to fight all 5 of them because there was no Hoovers on the pound.
Damn, so you were solo dolo.
I was solo dolo. The whole pound was Rollins and Insanes on the pound. So and at YO camp they move a little different. At YO camp it's not okay. You still homie, you still good. You know this, that, and the third. You might get your little TOAs. No, they only had 2 sets on that pound when I was there. That pound was run by 2 sets, so it was either you roll or you fold.
And you ain't folding.
You roll to that set or you gonna fold and get off the pound. And I was one of the knuckleheads, you know, that I ain't folding shit and I ain't rolling shit. You know what time it is.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to fight all 5 brothers that were in the dorm. I ended up beating the shit out of one, but they all beat me up. You know how that goes. You can't beat 5 people up.
Nah, you can't.
But you know, you could latch on to one of them motherfuckers and damn sure tear an ass over to him.
You know let them know you were there.
So yeah, and the police ended up coming in the dorm when that happened. The police came in the dorm. They were like, "What the fuck going on?" Oh, it's straight, Sarge, it's straight. We had some cool police that would let you fight. Like we had police on Thursday night that'll come in and you knew that Thursday night when he comes, you can get any pressure you had all week off your chest because he's gonna let you slide the grid, basically slide the bunks apart and y'all do what y'all do. I'm gonna turn my back. It's a gladiator camp. You know, and I ended up getting transferred from Lancaster. I got in a riot. I was involved in. It was my second riot, but it was the first one that I was caught in.
Okay.
I got a DR for inciting or participating in a riot, 60-day DR, and transferred because something went down on the pound, and that's how quick it happens on YO camps. 1 minute it can be straight, everybody's laughing, and the next minute you come back from chow and you can feel the tension in the dorm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not 2-3 people fighting, it's 40-50 people gonna fight.
Yeah, no doubt. You can just feel that shit in the air. You can come back from rec and you just feel it, man. But when you got transferred from Lancaster, where did you end up after that? At another YO camp?
Yeah, I went to Lake City.
That's a private camp, right?
It was a private camp. It was run by CCA, Correction Corporations of America.
Yeah.
And it was pretty rough. I wouldn't say it was as rough as Lancaster because Lancaster had a lot more weapons than Lake City. Lake City was more about gangs, politics. You might get jumped or you got to fight really good.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. At Lancaster, it was more about I'm gonna hit you in the head with a fucking lock. I'm gonna try to stab you in the neck with a piece of fence. I'm gonna get you airlifted off the compound.
Damn. Yeah, shit's crazy, man. So when you were to go back to Lancaster, what was the craziest thing that you saw as far as like inmate on inmate violence? Like I know you said stabbing and shit, but like what was one that stood out to you?
The craziest that stood out to me was my 30-day DR. I got a 30-day DR because, okay, we was in child and there was this was the first riot. This was the first one that I got away in.
Okay.
This is how it started. It started with me. I had an altercation with somebody. He was another set. It went through all the politics and it still didn't get settled. And you know how that goes when it still doesn't get settled and somebody wants to get something off their chest, it's gonna happen one way or another. So it was 4 o'clock in the morning and we were on the way to Chai. And if anybody know the castle, you got, when you're going to Chai, you got to line up 4 deep or 3 deep. So it'll be a row, and a row, and you'll march to Chai while somebody doing cadence at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. This is up there in Trenton, Florida. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's dark.
Right.
And I don't know what told me to like look a little bit to my left, but when I looked to my left, I seen the line split. And the only time that the line splits is when somebody's coming through that line. And when somebody's coming through that line, that means it's either urgent or somebody's gonna get fucked up in the line. So when I seen the line split, I moved at the last second. As I moved at the last second, the dude that I had beef with tried to hit me with a piece of fence. He ended up skinning me right here. I got a scar from about right here to right here. He ended up skinning me. But as he tried to hit me, he dropped the knife. So we start tussling right there in the middle of the field. He gets up, he tries to run. If anybody knows Lancaster, is pretty big. You got on one side, you got DEFG, and then on the other side, you got HIJKLM. So it's a big ass compound. We went from all the way by the child hall all the way towards K-Dorm. I was chasing him. By the time I caught up to him and I tackled him, I had like 6 police around me spraying me. They were gassing the shit out of both of us, but I only got a 30-day DR for it. He only got a 30-day DR for it.
So even with the weapon, even getting caught with the weapon, or was that back up on the where you guys started?
He didn't get caught with the weapon. So what happened was when he tried to hit me with it, the weapon dropped out of his hand. So obviously one of my brothers or one of his brothers picked that weapon up.
Yeah,
That's what's gonna happen. Nobody's gonna leave the weapon on the floor. we both got 30-day DRs. A lot of shit was boiling during those 30 days. I ended up getting let out of confinement after like 26 days. As I get let out of confinement, there was another altercation with the same gang. We ended up going through an all-out war, and that's when I got transferred. When I got transferred, I got 8 stitches when I got transferred. My own brother, Friendly Fire.
Damn. Oh, in the fight, he accidentally hit you? Okay, so it was my homie, his name Big C. He was in the corner of the dorm. We was in B1. He was in the corner of the dorm, and he was fighting 4 people. It popped off. So wherever you were at, if you had more of them around you, you were gonna fight more of them. Yeah. He was literally fighting 4 people. While he was fighting them, he was just swinging lock. He had a lock on a piece of belt. He was just swinging it. So I had already, choked somebody out on the other side of the dorm. I run to that side. As I run to that side of the dorm, he's swinging the lock. I get caught right here. I didn't get caught fighting. Nobody really gets caught fighting in the riot because they can't really tell everybody that's fighting. It's going crazy. But when they come in, what they do is they tell everybody, lay down flat, and the captain comes in there and he gonna pull y'all up one by one, look at your knuckles, look at your face, and if you got any markings on you, lock them up. And I'm talking about 40 people going up out the dorm, zip ties and all, because they ain't got enough handcuffs. Damn. So then boom, you go to confinement and then they ship you to Lake City?
I did 60 days and then I went to Lake City Correctional Facility.
So how long were you at Lake City before you EOS?
I was at Lancaster about a year and a half, and I was at Lake City for the rest of my time. So I did about 13 months in the county, about a year and a half, probably about 6-7 months. I don't remember, about 6-7 months, but I maxed out on my 36-month bid. All
right. So when you were in Lake City, let's say the last year that you were there, like what was your plan for when you get out? Like, did you have a plan? Like, what was going through your head?
I mean, everybody has that plan that when they get out, they're gonna do better, and they're not gonna get in trouble. Everybody has that same mindset. Barely anybody gets out and says, "I'm gonna get out and fuck up again."
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're in there, 9 times out of 10, everybody has the same mindset. They're gonna get out, they're gonna take care of their family, they're gonna do the right thing, they're gonna make their mama proud, they're gonna do this, that, and the third. I had that same mindset, but I got out. It lasted about a month and a half. I was on community control.
But you were already set up right there.
Huh?
You were already set up right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when you get out with that shit, it ain't like you're free. You know what I'm saying?
It's the furthest thing from freedom. So basically, I was on community control for 2 years. Remember, I said my sentence had got amended to 2 years from 3 years because 3 was illegal. Because it's the same thing as house arrest.
Yeah.
I was on community control for about a month and a half before, I got into a little drama and shit. I was living in Martin County for like a month and a half. I was like, you know what? When I got out of Lake City, I even had that mindset. I'm not going back to Broward, fucking with the same crowd. I ain't gonna be back in Lauderdale, Pompano, hanging out everywhere, chilling, whatever. I'm gonna go somewhere where nobody know me. And I did that, and it worked for about a month and a half before I met a girl. We started going out clubbing around Martin County. I started going to the Rockstar Lounge in Jensen Beach, or Club Element and shit like that. And it kind of brought me back more towards that life of, not giving a fuck.
Right.
And while that was going on, like I said, I had some drama up there, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this community control shit. I was already bucking community control by leaving at 2:00 in the morning my house and going out to the club and drinking and shit and then coming back. But it got to the point where I was like, because during the daytime, it ain't none of that. Your officer's going to pop up no matter what. Some officers pop up in the middle of the night, but I had a pretty sweet officer. She would pop up on Thursday at a certain time. So it was kind of a schedule.
Yeah,
thing.
You knew you could slide.
Right. It kind of set me up for failure. No monitor, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, they gave you the rope to hang yourself.
Exactly. Here's the rope, go hang yourself.
Yeah.
And I ended up fucking like, you know what? Fuck this shit, man. I'm going back down to Broward. So me and the chick that I've been hanging out with, she was like, okay, yeah, let's go back down to Broward. We go back down to Broward, and she ends up clearing it, and I really ain't have no place to stay in Broward. I was 21 at the time. I ain't have no place to stay. I was fresh out of prison. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't tell my mama let me stay with her because bitch, we been past that. Since I was like 10 years old, I've been living on my own. So it's like I ended up, calling around. The only place I could stay was the trap. And my homeboy got a little trap house. So I'm like, you know what? I got to do what I got to do. I already cleared it from Martin County. I'm already on the run, technically. I already got an absconding warrant coming. So I'm like, fuck it. I might as well go in the trap. So I ended up living in the trap. As you know, if you live in the trap and, you grew up selling dope, you're gonna end up making plays here and there. My homeboy ended up giving me some of his plays to make some money, get back on my feet. And it just progressed from there. Within 5 months, I had my hands in so much shit. I had my hands in robberies. I had my hands in burglaries. I had my hands in selling pills, fucking dope, fucking everything. I just had anywhere I could make the money, I was making the money. And it didn't last long. It lasted 5 months before my door got kicked in. Somebody put the police on me. Somebody told the police that I was involved in a burglary that I had nothing to do with. So, but I did buy the stolen property. As you know, that comes with the life. I ended up moving out the trap. Let me backwind a little bit. I ended up moving out the trap to Deerfield. I ended up getting my own apartment right there on Crystal Lake. I was doing my thing. I was booming. This all happened within a 5-month period. Like I said, I had my hands in too much. I didn't have any TVs for the apartment. I ended up paying somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So and when that happened,
that led to a series of other crimes. I was already under investigation. They were already looking for me. So I already had absconding warrants from, like I said, I left Martin County after a month and a half.
Yeah, man, when you're in that life, dog, and you're doing that shit, like, you got to get it how you live. And unfortunately, we put ourselves in situations where, like, we don't have to worry about just going and doing this and get caught. We're doing so many things when we get caught. Like, I couldn't even remember half the shit I did. They were just telling me the charges and shit. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy how much, when you sit back and think about it, like, I sit back and think about it all the time. Like, it's crazy how much shit I did. Like, with all the shit I did, I could be in somebody else's shoes with a life sentence right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I've met people who've only fucked up one time, and that's all it took them, and they caught their life sentence. You know what I mean? And I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, damn, that could have been me in them shoes if I would have got caught, if I would have did this. And now that I'm at that age, it's like, why the fuck? I was tripping.
Yeah. And it's crazy, man, because like you said, the one charge with life, man, like in Florida, you don't got to do nothing big to catch a PRR and get 25, 30 years, like just off one charge. And it ain't even a fucking serious charge. It's crazy, bro.
Not at all.
So, all right.
Florida, so if you catch any charge considered violent within 3 years of getting out of prison, whatever the max is on the charge is your minimum mandatory. That's what the PRR means. A lot of people will mislead you on the internet about PR and shit. I've seen videos of people making about PRs, but PR is one thing. It means if you commit a violent felony within 3 years of getting released from prison, whatever the max is on that felony, if it's a battery that with bodily harm, which is like 15 years, I think the max on that is 15 years or 30 years or something like that. That'll be your minimum mandatory, meaning that whatever the max is your min-man.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Go to trial or take this min-man. They can waive the min-man on PRRs if the state doesn't have a case. If the state doesn't have a case, they'll waive the min-man and give you probably the bottom of your guidelines. That's what happened with me. My co-defendant ended up dying. They had no case. The state waived the min-man. I caught 12 years, which was the bottom of my guideline.
So the co-defendant...
7 in, 5 out.
Damn, so your co-defendant on the second prison bid ended up dying?
Yeah, so I sat in the county about 3 years. I sat in the county fighting this charge. I was PR. Like I said, PR is a hard motherfucker to get around.
Yeah.
And the state had my co-defendant testifying on me. They were pushing me towards final VOP. At the same time they were pushing towards final VOP, my lawyer was pushing towards trial. The year ended up turning around and it became a new year. I got a new judge and a new state attorney. As you know, when the year turns into January, a lot of judges will step down off the bench or move to different divisions and stuff. So I ended up getting a new judge and a new state attorney. I get the news while I'm on the phone with my old lady telling me that my co-defendant, the bitch who's testifying against me, died. It's all over Facebook and it's all over social media that she's dead. So to other people, that might have been bad news. To me, that was good news. To me, that was like,
run that.
To me, that was like, you know, that archangel Michael in the sky, like, okay, come here, I got you. You know what I mean? We ended up going to court, you know, as you know, in I don't know if you know Broward County, but Broward County, they set you off like 3-4 months at a time. When you go to court, they'll set your next court date for fucking 120 days from now. So we won't see you for another fucking 4 months. That's how rough it is. And then you going back to the county. Yeah. So I ended up going in, I believe in like April. And as I went into the courtroom, I had already laced my lawyer up. We had a meeting about it. He came out to the jail. We had a meeting about it. I told him, look, my Cody died. They ain't got shit. So as we go into court, my lawyer tells the judge, he's like, Your Honor, the state's pushing for final VOP, but I'm pushing for trial on this charge. The state has absolutely no evidence. The only testifiable witness is now deceased, and the state has no evidence. The judge looks at the state and says, State, do you have any evidence to provide? The state was at a loss of words because they didn't know that my co-defendant died. They didn't know. The one that was snitching on me, they didn't know she died. So when she died, the state was at like a loss for words. It kind of surprised them. So I go back to the jailhouse. They set me off for another 3 months or some shit like that. I go back to the jailhouse. I call my mom and shit like that. I talk to her. The next day, my lawyer calls me down. My lawyer says, look, they offering 8 followed by 5. He said they're waiving the minimum man. They're offering 8 followed by 5. Mind you, I had been telling my lawyer, bitch, I'll cop out to 10 years. I'll take 10. You're like, run that. I was in the county 3 years. I was telling my lawyer, if you can get 10, run that. I'll sign the paperwork right now. Yeah, no doubt. That deal came about. After 3 years, that deal came about. They said 8 years followed by 5 years probation. I was like, all right, so look, see if you could talk them down 1 year. I go back to the dorm. Later on that night, I call my mom. She give me the good news. She like, look, the lawyer just called me. He got him down to 7. That's the bottom of the guideline. 7 years Florida State prison, followed by 5 years probation. From there, you already know what it was. Just a change of plea. Just within a week, I was back in court, change of plea, guilty, signing the paperwork. 7 followed by 5. Damn, man. So actually, I mean, when you say it like that, I would be like, all right with it at that point. Because when you think you're going to do 15 and you get it down. Happy. And listen, when they told me 7 years followed by 5, my fucking hand was twitching to sign that paper. You understand? Yeah. I had been in the county 3 years. And you know what the county jail like. That shit ain't no joke. That shit rough. And it ain't rough because of the people around you. It's rough because you ain't got no food in that motherfucker. It's cold as fuck all the time. The deputies are straight fucking assholes. You spend 9 times out of 10 of your day inside of a fucking cell. You never get to come out. You don't go outside for rec like that. Yeah. It sucks, bro. Yeah, it's that pressure. If you like me, you gonna turn pale and shit. Oh, you gonna be looking like a ghost, like Casper. If you was black before, you gonna be red. Yeah, no doubt, bro. So, all right. So you're headed back to Florida DOC now for a fresh 7 years. When you got that 7 years, where did you end up doing that at?